Lean and economic order quantity seem to bite each other, but I think that it is a false dichotomy. Let's go into that in this video. Hello, I'm Tom. Welcome to my channel where we talk about continuous improvement in an industrial setting. And today's video is about inventory management, and more specifically, this lean form of inventory management where you want to reduce your stock count, the number of units you keep, the place that it brings in your factory, and compare that to a bit of an older concept, which is the economic order quantity, which is a system that says, well, there are costs for each time that you place an order and have it delivered. So if you take bigger orders, you have fewer order costs. But then again, if you have big orders, on average, you will also have a higher inventory, and that leads to costs, and these are inventory holding costs. And from that, there is this optimal financial point. And the thing is, almost always when you ask lean professionals, when they're going to lean inventory management, they will say, yeah, but this optimal point, it's way too much inventory. I mean, it's all very nice that there are costs with ordering, with transporting it, but you are just clogging up your factory, and especially you're clogging up the warehouse part of your factory. You're just keeping way too much inventory at site, and that calculation, it's not a good representation of reality. So what is it? Now, let's first go over not completely all the calculations, but the concept of the economic order quantity. And what it basically says is, you have this order quantity, and it assumes that your yearly or whatever demand stays the same. Logical, right? We based on the order quantity of new ingredients, new products coming to the factory. That doesn't change how many products you make. So it also doesn't change how many ingredients and spare parts and stuff like that you are going to use. So the total demand will be the same, but if we order a bigger amount each time, then we have fewer orders in a year. And when we know that there are costs involved in placing and transporting an order, and we also know that if a truck has to drive to your site anyway, then usually there's almost no extra cost involved in having a couple extra pallets on that truck. The main cost is getting the truck to drive to you in the first place, placing the order, getting everything, the whole administration working. So when we have bigger order quantities and fewer orders, the cost of placing an order, they diminish. While the inventory cost or the stock keeping cost, they go up in a linear fashion, and this is based on that keeping inventory costs money. It costs you the frozen value of the inventory. I mean, if you on average have a much higher inventory, then you're basically freezing money, freezing value in your company, and we at least have to pay interest on that. Many companies, they borrow money, and there is an interest cost to be paid. So if you would have less inventory, you could borrow less money to run your company. So these costs are the bare minimum. But at least as important are also that when you have inventory physically at your site, well, you need space for it. So you need to have space, warehouse space. You need to keep that dry. Maybe you need to keep that also at a certain temperature or a certain humidity. So these physical keeping costs of your inventory, they are also there. And then there is the risk of the product going bad or obsolete. So for that, generally the inventory costs are put at a certain percentage of the price of your inventory or a cost per unit of inventory, and they go up in a straight line. Now the sum of these two, so the order cost and the inventory cost, is the purple line here, and you see in the beginning when you have very frequent deliveries of small orders, the order cost itself is very high, but if you have very frequent small deliveries, the actual inventory level at your factory will be low, but still there is quite a cost. Now, at some point they cross, but this crossing point isn't that important. It is about where is the lowest sum of these two. And it is very often somewhere near the crossing point, but it's not the cross, it is the sum of these two. Now, at a certain point, you see the order cost, they go down with 1 over x. So at some point you can order the whole year worth or even 2 years worth of inventory, and then you only pay the order cost once per year, but it doesn't go down so much anymore, while the inventory costs just go up linearly. So that's why this one flips back up and there is a minimum, and then we say that is the economic order quantity. And these are the minimum costs for having this inventory delivered to our factory. Now, this here by itself is, I mean, it's a good calculation. It's a good idea to keep in mind that very high orders, very low orders are usually not optimal, because they will either get you into lots of transport or they will get you into lots of inventory. But where this goes even, well, wrong even more, so to say, so where it really gets out of sync with lean thinking, because this is already, as I said, many lean practitioners will say, no, you push it back because next to inventory cost you have other costs as well, and that's a point we'll be coming back to. But where this goes completely in the wrong direction is when we also calculate what are the costs of the product itself, because it's sort of industry standard to have quantum discounts. So let's put in the price as well. Now, when we get a discount after a certain number of items, and these discounts, and that's the thing, in the whole picture of our goods, usually the inventory costs and the transport costs are relatively small compared to the price of the product we're buying. So if we get a 1%, 2% discount on the product price when we place larger orders, what's going to happen is that at these discount points, suddenly the price, the total price package drops a lot. And in the end, the inventory costs, they may not offset this. Now, in the graph I drew now, the inventory costs are still pretty steep. So probably, if we calculate it, this will still be the best point, although it may by now already be this one. In reality, if you have an expensive product and that is custom made for you, so your supplier has a bit more reason to give you quantum discounts, and the inventory costs, well, they're not that high. I mean, at the moment, we're not having that much interest to start with. I have plenty of space in my factory, so why really calculate a big surplus over that? Doesn't have to be stored cool, it's packaging stuff. This cost will be low, those discounts will be rather high, and the new economic order quantity will be huge. So basically, your purchasing department will tell you, let's buy for a whole year, just put it in a warehouse, we'll have the lowest price, and if you do that, we'll always have stock. What can be more wonderful for a company than to always have stock and never run out? Not right, but economically, it does look pretty decent, pretty normal, right? And this is where, this is the reason why many lean practitioners say that this economic order quantity, and especially combined with the discount that you get for higher order quantities, is just, this is going to ruin the leanness of your company, because this will force you to have way too much stock and create all kinds of difficulties in your factory. We can also not go the other way around. So, I mean, this is a continuous improvement and mostly lean and Six Sigma channel. So, probably you, my viewer, are also more into the lean philosophy. But when we just say, no, but we need to drop stock levels because that will create flow and it will, free up some cash and just go for flow in the factory, and then have some more transport movements to get the stuff in, but that's just in time inventory management. This is all wow. This is what Toyota does, so it must be good. This is the way forward. That's a modern company. Those arguments, they are also nonsense arguments. If we just do lean and low inventory because that sounds nice or because someone else is doing it, we run a big risk of actually financially damaging our company. Now, in this inventory cost, what can we add in here? And that is the thing. In fact, when we think about many of our 7 wastes, and then especially inventory by itself is sort of in here, but movement and transport and getting around your inventory, we see that this does not grow linearly. You see, if you have one rack of pallets for each of your ingredients, then it's quite easy to get it close to your production area. But if you need to store 50 or so pallets, you need a serious warehouse. You need space. It will have to be put somewhere, and you need a whole management system to get it into your production area. So there are these sort of levels where if you go over it, you will force yourself to move into a more expensive system of internal logistics in your factory, which basically means that at some point the costs jump. So it's not a straight line, it will jump up. And the same can be done with changes in risk. So the cost, purely financial, so the money lending cost basically of keeping a certain stock level, that will not change too much. But the risk of going obsolete, so we were talking about this packaging material. When you want to do a promo or a change of your packaging, this is not something you do from today till tomorrow. This is a project, and depends a bit on your company and how fast you do these turnarounds, but let's say that it's a project that will have at least a month or so. And for some companies a bit shorter, for some a bit longer, but that means that if you know that your packaging change projects are usually about a month, that also means that if you have up to a month of packaging stocks, they do not have any risk of becoming obsolete. So this risk of obsolete packaging only becomes a problem after a certain point. And these types of think about how your organization works and how this can impact what you're doing, that means that you can sort of update this cost line. Now, for this purple line, there is a nice formula. Go look it up on Google, but it's 2 times your inventory cost and then divided by the reorder cost, and then you make a square root of that. Okay, that only works when this one's linear, this one is 1 over x, and then you get a very nice formula. Even getting this discount pricing system in already ruins that formula, and they will basically, everyone will advise you, put it in Excel, let Excel solve for the lowest total cost. Excel will run the numbers and just do a whole bunch of calculations, narrow it down and say this is the cheapest point, and that works quite well. That also works when you have the inventory costs with these increasing costs per unit. So when you make this and you put in those types of assumptions, you get to let's say a financial mathematical calculation that takes into account the lean things you do at your factory. Because here you can be very lean, and every time you have one of these bumps, you know that you're adding costs on top of the pure basis. The same sort of goes for order costs, and here it's more that when you know that you will be having pretty frequent deliveries, at some point you change the way that the supplier delivers the products to you. So if you know that every day you have between 2 and 4 pallets coming to your factory from that supplier. You set up sort of a milk run, and you change precisely which pallet will be on there, but they will make a transport system where you have shared trucks doing around. It's a different way of flexibility, and you can decrease those costs by really working together with your transport company, with your supplier. Same also goes a bit for if you know, and this is the real just-in-time delivery, if you know that the deliveries are not even going to a central warehouse at all, you just make sure that they come in exactly at that time that you need them to be put next to the line. So you only have one internal transport movement. Then order costs drop, inventory costs drop, and you will see that this goes up, this goes down, and the whole economic order quantity shifts to a lesser quantity per order. Then the whole product pricing, and especially the quantum discounts. Now, here you really have to chat with more the operational people of your supplier, because usually the salespeople, they will have gotten this message, sell bigger quantities, that's cheaper for us, and then you can give the customers a small discount, or just lock in customers. If we have fewer big customers, it's easier for our company. So that's where this whole quantity discount comes from. And they can also, for some products, really make bigger batches, which is nicer for them. But the most important thing is that they have a sort of a stability, and that they can take away risks from their production side. But what we also know, and that's the things that we are trying to do, is trying to reduce setup times, make sure that we are a bit more flexible, and be able to print our packaging materials or produce our spare parts in such a way that it doesn't have to be one huge order that they make 3 days in a row. They're just stamping out our product, and then for the next 1.5 years they're trying to sell that to us, or even worse, dump it all in our own warehouse, and we don't see them again for the next 1.5 years. What they are probably also looking for is just that stability and flexibility to produce when it's good for them. So have a discussion with them, say, okay, we're gonna order a year's worth of products for you. You will get the guarantee that we're gonna take this product, but there might at some point be some changes in design. We'll inform you upfront. And those are things that can still be made on your machines. We just want to include some print or some promo action, or we would change a bit less of the big sprockets and a couple more of the smaller ones. Stuff like that will keep the volume with your company, but give us a bit of flexibility, and more importantly, we'll do the whole year or even a 2 or 3 year contract, but we want to be able to dispatch on a weekly, monthly, daily basis, and to make sure that we just get the amount of stock that we need. We'll give you a forecast of what we're probably going to order, and then we're going to order when we need it. You're allowed to, and this is important, because when you say this, usually that supplier will say, yeah, so that means we still have to make small runs, it's all difficult, and we can't really, we cannot give you that flexibility for free, which, if they're not too lean in their company, is realistic. I mean, they really cannot do that for free. So you will have to accept that it does mean that you cannot always make the changes directly. So there will be some costs involved. But for instance, what we see quite often, and that is even if you order a car or a big piece of furniture like a couch or a bed, you either take it directly from the dealer, so you take it from stock there. But even with a car, often when you do this, you go to the dealer, you say, I want that car. And if it's a new car, they are very likely to tell you, okay, we can give you that model in a different color, and you'll get it in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, because we will put you on the list for production. Like, okay, that's strange. And the big pieces of furniture, they basically have the same. Either you get it from IKEA directly from the warehouse, and it's the same as everyone else has, or you're getting something that still has to be produced. And this is sort of a nice lean idea that you only produce to order, but then the lead times of months, that is ridiculous. But they put you on a production plan somehow, and they just reserve a place, and they are not going to produce for a period of 9 months, right? It's not a baby. They put you on a production plan, and at some point they're going to buy the materials, and then at some point they're going to really produce your item. And as soon as it's produced, it's transported and it gets your way quite quickly. So most of the time it's just waiting because other people are still in the queue. Can you still change the color of your car up until the point that they produced? In the commercial side, no, you cannot. Once you locked in your order, once you ordered a blue couch, you're getting a blue couch in 16 weeks. But you know that they will not start producing that for at least 10 weeks. So your suppliers will also know this. They will not produce the stuff. If they say that there is a 3-month lead time, that doesn't mean that they're printing stuff for a period of 3 months. No, that just means that they cannot get hold of their own resources like their ingredients or their machine capacity. They will just put you in the schedule for over 2.5 months and then start really producing. So you can do changes that do not seriously affect the product, so it can still be made on their lines with the designs that is all approved. You should be able to make those changes and discuss with your supplier, when do we have limits. So tell me when you're, for instance, going to order the color of the textile. If it is a couch, I can imagine that for this, well, once they ordered the textile with a certain color, that cannot be changed. A car company that has loads of colors in their factory, it can be changed a lot later. So basically, each of your suppliers should be able to tell you to what point during this whole lead time can changes still be made, and which changes. Maybe the print can still be changed, but the colors cannot. Maybe the shape cannot be changed almost from the start, or alternatively, maybe the shape can be changed till almost the latest moment. This is all to do with your suppliers decoupling and where do they make in their production process specific fixed steps. So where do they fix your parameters of the product? You make one big order, but then you let it come to the factory in small batches, and you know where your flexibility remains in a good conversation with your supplier. And that is true lean working within your supply chain. When you fix on what are the requirements, what are the needs for my company, for my supplier's company, what are really things happening. So not just what accounting can say as these are okayed accounting rules with tax regulations and this is generally accepted accounting regulations. No, we will model the actual problems that we get in our factory or the actual flexibility and possibilities of our supplier into these decisions on how and how much to order. Now, can you really put a precise number to all of these assumptions that we've been talking about over the last 15 minutes? Probably not. It will not be as nice and let's say as fancy number-wise as this inventory cost that has a couple of components and is a nice linear equation. And that's because in reality it is not linear. But this discussion will allow you to have the proper discussion for in your industry. Look, within your company. In the end, economic order quantity is not something that if you have a multi-factory company that is something that you use to tell your main boss, look, this is we are following all the rules, we are doing everything that accounting told us, and we're doing the most optimal possible. It is a system to have a discussion between your supply chain partners. So this is a discussion that you have mostly in-house and a bit with your suppliers, of course, where you balance the pros and cons for production, for warehousing, for your financial, for the transport organization around it. What can we do to simplify our administration, but without really affecting the production side of our business too much? And based on these assumptions, based on these impacts from different points of view, what is the best way to run our company? That is what this model is supposed to do. For now, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button, and also, share this video with your colleagues, with your friends. It allows me to get a broader audience, but it also hopefully gives them a chance to learn about nice new things within our industry. For now, I wish you the best of luck in your supply chain management, and as always, don't forget to enjoy the lean journey.